I've spent the last 4 years immersing myself in the world of finance. I did this through taking personal financial courses, reading a lot of financial books, and also just learning from other YouTubers that post or create financial content. And through this process, I was able to learn one of the most important life changing skills, which is to be able to recognize my bad money habit and also to know how I can break free from them. In today's video, I'm going to be sharing 5 of those habits that kind of like held me back in terms of managing my money. Habit number 1 is paying yourself last, or not paying yourself at all. I first learned about this habit from the book called The Richest Man in Babylon. So it's one of those all-time financial books that has been around forever. In this book, the author speaks about different types of rules to money, and one of them is that you need to pay yourself first. For every income that you make, about 10% minimum of that income needs to be paid to yourself. And from all the literatures that I've been reading, this tends to be like the blueprint on achieving financial independence or financial freedom. When I started working, I remember with my first paycheck, there was not even such thing as paying myself. I just went out and went like on a shopping spree. But according to the richest man in Babylon, when you pay yourself first, you then are building these savings or these investments that can work for you in the future if you are no longer working or if you're no longer having an income. Some people do pay themselves first and some don't at all. So for those that some people that will pay themselves, they'll end up paying themselves this money and just ending up using it for unnecessary things. But one recommendation that I've learned from the books is that when you pay yourself first, you'd rather take that money and invest it like in the high yielding and save that money in the high yielding savings account. You can save it to make it your emergency fund. And like I cannot stress enough about the importance of an emergency fund. Emergencies do happen all the time, and what better way to protect yourself than having an emergency fund? So by you paying yourself first, you can be able to accumulate about 3 to 6 months of your monthly expenses. And depending on what your income is and what your expenses are, this can take time to build that 3 to 6 months. But as long as you can just start, pay yourself first to save that emergency fund, it will come such a long way. Some people find themselves in a situation where they can barely afford to live. So my tip is for those ones that have all their basic needs met and they're using the extra money to use on other things that are not really a necessity. You'd rather start by paying yourself first and then spend afterwards. And also, like I said, some people might not be able to, but then you'll get all those people that are like, no, but I live paycheck to paycheck. I can't afford to pay myself first or save any money. But one thing about human beings is that we always find a way to adapt. So if you leave paying yourself last, you'll find that you would have spent all the money and then you have nothing left to save. However, if you pay yourself first, once you get your income, you take minimum 10% of that income and put it aside. You will find a way on how you're going to make your other expenses work with the remaining money. So something that I wish that I knew very early was to make sure that with every income that I get, I pay myself first. The key here is that by paying yourself first, you make yourself richer instead of making other people richer. Because when you don't pay yourself first and just go on this shopping spree and spend all your money, then you're making all those other people richer before you make yourself richer, which means that you will always have to work for money and you will not have any money that can start working for you. The second habit is not having a budget. If you don't have a budget, then you don't know exactly where your money is going. However, if you have a budget, then you have a detailed plan on this is how much that comes in and this is how much that goes out. Then you know what you have left. And you having a budget will actually even help you to be able to pay yourself first, because then you will know that I have all my calculations of all my expenses, then I will be able to put this amount of money aside to pay myself first. And there's just so much power in visualizing your plans. So you can think about some people will say, like, for example, myself, I used to be like, no, I have my budget in my head, but there is just so much power in visualizing things and writing them down. So when you have like a proper written budget, it doesn't have to be fancy or something. You can just know that this is how much I'm making in and this is how much my expenses are costing. And that way you can actually find that there are certain things that you're spending your money on them that are not really a necessity, and you can then make changes to prevent debt. The third habit is getting too comfortable with bad debt. If you've been watching my journey, if you've been following my journey, then you will know about my battles or my struggles with consumer credit and all that. So I was at a stage where I was so comfortable with consumer credit, with credit cards, with store accounts, to a point where I would have money to buy something, but I'd rather take that money, use it for something else, and get clothes or whatever on credit, which was not really good because it ended up catching up with me. I got to a point where I paid so much interest on those stuff, and some of them I did not even have them. So make sure that you do not get comfortable with bad credit. Credit can be used in terms of emergency if you do not have an emergency fund, and an emergency comes your way, then you can get credit to pay for that emergency and repay it back. But the problem becomes that when you get too comfortable with that, and that's the problem. Credit card companies want you to be very bad with your money because that's how they make money. So you gotta be wise when you get into the workforce to know that these credit cards companies are not for me. Of course, I can use them, I can leverage them, but at the end of the day, they want to make money out of me. So do not get comfortable with bad debt. Otherwise, it's just going to be, that's another recipe for disaster. If you don't want to end up in a financial disaster, just don't get comfortable with bad credit. And the fourth habit is that I did not start investing early. If I had known on how important compound interest is, then at least I could have done things a little bit different. But here's the thing, when you start investing early, your money compounds over time. And like, a lot of people don't understand how compound interest can work in your favor. And the trick is that it can work against you or work for you. If you understand it, then you can reap a lot of benefit from it. So I'm turning 30 this year, and I wish I'd started investing like by the time I was in university, because I used to get good pocket money, but I just was not interested in investing. If only I'd like started investing like 100 rands or 200 rand in any stock market or anything of value, by now I would have had like so much money. Okay, it might not be so much money, but I would have had like something to start with. But I feel like I only like started investing like 2 years ago, in the last 2 years. So it's more like more over 5 years of my life that I've wasted and not reap the benefit of compound interest. So start doing your research on what kind of investment that you can put your money in. And the thing is, you do not need a lot of money to start investing. You can start with as little as you have, as long as you are consistent. And last but not least, the fifth habit is having very, very expensive hobbies. I used to be that person who needed retail therapy. Like, every time I saw the word sale, it's just, I had to go crazy. Every month I needed to buy myself something, even things that I did not need. I just had to buy myself those because I just had myself as this person who would feel better from retail therapy. But now that's the problem. When your hobbies are too expensive, this is eating away from your future. I've been fortunate enough to be in jobs where I grew and earned more money. But one thing that I ended up doing was that every time my salary increased, my lifestyle also increased. And it just became like a cycle. And this is a cycle that you cannot get out of unless you are intentionally telling yourself that my salary has increased, but I'm going to make sure that I keep my lifestyle as it was before so that I can have more than enough money to save towards my future. And this is something that a lot of young people don't do. Lifestyle inflation is a recipe for disaster. So be wise. Whenever you get a salary increase, just know where would rather direct that increase to. And I'm just so grateful that I was able to recognize this a little bit earlier in my life than only recognizing this late and having to realize that I was actually spending a lot of money on unnecessary things, whereas I could have been investing for my future. And explain that now that I have kids, one thing that I want to do is spend time with my kids. But because I do not have enough money to do that, I have to go to work and have someone else look after my kids or have my kids go to daycare. That's not something that I really want to do, but I have no choice because I did not make good money decisions. So these habits are things that I used to do in the past that through my experience by learning about finances, I've been able to understand them and break free from them. So just think about the things that you are doing with your money and just evaluate them, see what's helping you and what's working better for you and what is not. And from that way, then you can just have your money start working for you. If there's one thing that you can take out of my experience, will be that you need to pay yourself first, because that's the blueprint of achieving financial independence or financial freedom. So that's it for today. Thank you so much for watching. If you are not subscribed, please subscribe and share this video with someone that you think might benefit from it. And also please let me know in the comments, what are those habits that held you back in your finance journey? Thanks. I'm looking forward to reading your comments. Bye.